This is Contractor Sense with Ruth King.
Welcome to Contractor Sense. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to your contracting business and you. I'm your host, Ruth King. This episode is sponsored by HVAC Trust Books. Go to hvactrustbooks.com to discover how this tool can help you close more sales. Thank you for joining us. Here's how we will help your business and you today. A few podcasts ago, I mentioned a $100 box of wire nuts. Some of you emailed me and asked, well, how can you have a box of wire nuts that costs $100? I mean, they're, $5 a box, maybe, if you're lucky. They're not expensive, but how do we get them to $100 a box? Well, I'm going to answer that question in this podcast. Before I do, I want you to understand and realize that there are many types of costs. There's direct cost, there's indirect cost, there's tangible cost, and there's intangible cost. Direct cost is what you have with respect to putting a job in. It is your direct labor, it is your materials, it is your equipment, it is your commissions, it is your freight, all the things that you spend so that you can generate revenue. Direct costs are also called cost of goods sold. Both mean exactly the same thing. Your indirect costs are the costs that you have to pay just to stay in business. They're also called overhead costs. They're like, the rent, the utility bill, the light bill, as I just said, the person who answers your telephone, your legal expenses, your accounting expenses, all those fun things that are on the bottom of your P&L statement under overhead. Those are your indirect costs. Your tangible costs, on the other hand, are costs that you can see. And you can see your rent and you can see your direct costs. The other one is intangible costs. And these are costs you're actually incurring that you might not actually see that you are incurring. And that's where this $100 box of wire nuts fits in. It's an intangible cost. It's costing you a lot more money than you actually realize. Okay, so one of your crew runs out of wire nuts in the field, and they're in the middle of installing Mrs. Jones' system or company A, B, and C's rooftop unit or whomever, but they can't go any further until they get a box of wire nuts, and there are none on the truck. All right? So if you're lucky, one of your guys, your helper for all intents and purposes, stops what he's doing so that your lead guy can continue what he's doing. And this is what we're going to take as the example first. So your helper runs back to the shop, or he goes to a parts house, and most of the time this happens, or you might be lucky enough to have a parts runner who can bring him a box of wire nuts. None of these is cheap. So let's assume that your parts runner is not available. He's delivering stuff to other people, and your helper has to go to the supply house for a box of wire nuts. So this takes at least an hour. He's got to stop work. He's got to drive to where he's going. He's got to look at all the fun things in the supply house and then pick up his box of wire nuts. Oh yeah, by the way, get a purchase order from the office to be able to do this. And imagine how much it costs to process that purchase order. And that's not even included here, more than the cost of the box of wire nuts. And then he's got his box of wire nuts, and then he goes back and drives back to the job and begins working again. So let's assume it's the helper, and his hourly wage is $20 an hour. So it's going to take him an hour. That's $20 right there. Okay? So that's part one. Part two, you have to add the overhead cost associated with that hour of labor. I've talked many, many times about overhead costs per hour. And let's assume for your company, it's $30 an hour. So for every dollar of labor that's supposedly billable, even though this is not, it's still part of a job. Let's assume it's $30 an hour that has to be added to the cost of a person. So we have a $20 an hour guy. We're adding $30 an hour of overhead. And now we're up to $50 just for that box of wire nuts. All right. Now, you also lose the profit of that helper for an hour. So if you want to earn $50 an hour, that's not unreasonable. Many contractors earn a whole lot more than that. Then your box of wire nuts is $100. It's $50 for your direct cost, $50 for your indirect cost, and $50 for your direct plus indirect cost, and then $50 for your profit. That's $100. All right. Now, that's the easier one of the two and the least expensive, potentially, unless you have a parts runner. But you can take a piece of the equation out if you've got a parts runner. But it gets much more expensive if both guys decide that they want to go to the parts house to get a box of wire nuts. Here you lose the helper, you lose the lead, and you totally lose productivity on the job for an hour. And that's really, really, really expensive. So if a parts runner does have to bring a box of wire nuts, the cost could be somewhat less. However, hopefully I've shown you how a box of wire nuts can easily cost $100 and how expensive it is to run out of shop materials on your trucks. So what do you do about that? Number one, you should have a list of consumable materials and make sure that somebody checks that all the consumables are on the truck, or make sure the crew does before they leave in the morning. And that's the easiest way to do this. Make sure that they have their duct tape and their wire nuts and their glue and their straps and whatever else they need on their trucks. If you'd like a copy of my consumable lists, just email me at ruthking@hvacchannel.tv. Keep your questions coming. I will answer them in future podcasts. And that's the gist of this podcast. I just want you to remember that your intangible costs can cost you a whole lot more than your tangible costs. This is one example where a box of wire nuts can cost you $100 or more. That's the true cost of running out of wire nuts on a truck. Thank you for joining us. Choose one thing that you discovered and implement it in your business. These ideas, tactics, and strategies help you make more money, have more free time, and give back. If you like today's program, spread the word. Please review this podcast on any device you're listening to it on. Help a fellow contractor make more money too. For comments or questions, or if you'd like my consumable list, call me at 770-729-0258 or email ruthking@hvacchannel.tv. Thanks for listening. Have a great and profitable day. I've seen my clients' salespeople struggle when a customer asks why they should use your company rather than the competition when your price is higher and you both are proposing the same equipment. I've seen technicians struggle when customers ask them whether they should replace an 18-year-old air conditioner. And most salespeople and technicians never ask the one question that most customers are concerned about, yet never ask. Can I trust you? I found a tool that gives your salespeople and technicians the ammunition to answer this question and more. And the tool works. How do I know? 68% of my clients are using it to increase sales and referrals. What is it? A trust book with your name on it as the author. More details are at hvactrustbooks.com. Warning, there is only one contractor per area that can get these great books. Some areas are already taken. They've gone to my clients. If you want your area and want to have a tool for your salespeople and technicians to increase referrals and sales, then go to hvactrustbooks.com now and reserve your area.
Eliminate costly warranty leak repair headaches. 3 years ago, Ruth King wrote a leak policy letter for one of her clients who was dealing with huge warranty leak issues. When she gave the letter to technicians and trained them on how to use it, warranty leaks went from zero, that's right, zero. Then, she gave the letter to one of her other clients and any contractor who wanted it. The results? The same, 0 warranty leak repairs. The unexpected benefits? An increase in replacement sales. Ruth shares the letter with anyone and everyone who wants it. So, get your sample leak policy letter for free. No strings, no catches, no guaranteed results. Go to hvacchannel.tv or call us at 877-520-4321. Click on the link in the middle of the homepage to get your free leak policy letter. I hope you experience 0 warranty leak repairs and eliminate a major costly headache.